On this episode, we're here with Guy Finley. He's the best-selling author of Letting Go, and he really focuses on social issues about relationships, success, addiction, stress, peace, happiness, and freedom, and a way to lead a higher life.
All right, Thriving Launchers, here we are with Guy Finley. Such an honor to have you on the show today. I've been in touch with your work for quite a long time. Guy, are you ready to launch?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He is ready. Awesome. So I know one of the things that you're really jazzed to talk about today is relationships and the power of relationships and how that's kind of an unignored or ignored piece of self-development, spiritual healing, and growth. And I'd love to jump into that with you.
Yeah, that'd be a great topic for us to look at together. And we have some wonderful supportive material to go along with it. So you lead and I'll follow there, Louis.
Yeah, what's one of the first things when we talk about relationships and the power of a relationship to help us heal and help us grow? What's one of the first things that you really want people to know or to teach and help people understand?
We are standing all the time in front of a spiritual gold mine that we don't recognize as being such, and that is our relationships. There's absolutely nothing more plentiful, nothing more pressing, and ultimately nothing more powerful than understanding that the relationships we have with one another are mirrors. They're intended to help us begin the process of another kind of self-discovery that isn't much based in a lot of the platitudes, the pleasing ideas that we have as aspirants, but rather, I like to say that truth, relationships are a full contact sport, that once we begin to understand the real purpose of a relationship, then we also understand what it means to be present and the powers that are there that can help us begin to, in ourselves, the transformation that we seek. So just to launch it out, relationships are the instrument through which we are introduced to ourselves in the deepest and most meaningful way. As an example, like I'm sitting here in my little house on this hill, this mountain in Oregon, and just outside my window, I have my feeders, my bird feeders, and it's fall, and the colors are absolutely striking. Now, when I bring my attention, take it away from thinking about maybe even what I'm going to say, I see the forms, I see the colors, I see the light. And in that relationship, if I'm attentive to it, I can feel things in myself, see things in myself that ordinarily I'm not present to at all. I see the leaves that are beginning to lose their color and drop to the ground, and maybe a breeze picks them up and makes them race across the lawn. I see a tree stripped of its leaves, bare, uncovered. Every last one of these impressions, when they're received as the relationship that they are in the moment, produce an indelible impression in my life. That impression gives me feelings that are otherwise unavailable to me in the moment. So that it's the relationship with the color, the shape, the form, the movement, whatever that may be in the moment, that awakens in me similar qualities that I didn't know live in my consciousness until I'm present to the relationship outside of me that reveals these things to me about myself. So that would be the first thing I would say, that we all get that idea. We're drawn to as I like to say, the timelessness of a night sky, the gentleness of a mother doe with her new fawn, the timidity of a nuthatch, a small bird, or a hummingbird, and that these moments, they give us the most profound sense of ourselves. And in truth, it's why we seek those things. If we're a naturalist, if we love nature, why do we go out into nature? If I love the ocean, why do I like to sit beside it? Because in that moment of relationship, being stirred in me are those exact same timeless qualities, the vastness of my own consciousness that I can't experience so much, or at least not very often, without the presence of the physical relationship outside of me. So we kind of get that idea that we are revealed to ourselves, within ourselves, by our relationships. Are we all on the same page so far?
We
That's
absolutely
magnificent.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really magnificent. It's really reminds me of when people say that we need a mirror, that, through the reflection of others or any relationship that we have, it doesn't even have to be other people or the other beings, just reflection from a tree or the ocean. We understand ourselves because of that contrast and because of the relationship.
Yes, because in our consciousness that we are by and large asleep within, we have almost no consistent recognition of, for lack of a better word, these divine celestial characters. The timelessness of a night sky that draws me to look up at it isn't that I'm looking at some void filled with little pinpoints of light, but rather through the relationship I experience what is timeless in myself, or I couldn't be drawn to that night sky. I'm drawn. I'm looking out the window. Titus, one of the new fawns, a little male, just walked up. That gentleness, I get to know it in myself. And it is a celestial character. It's not my character. In truth, it's not even the character of that little buck outside my window. It is a celestial attribute that we are awakened to through relationship. So this is why, and most of us get that, we're drawn to one another the way we are. I'm drawn to a man or a woman in my life because when I'm around him or her, I get to meet parts of myself I like. Wow. When I'm with you, I feel this bubbliness. When I'm watching you, I see a strength. I experience a force that ordinarily I don't seem to have access to, but I can see it exists in me because when I'm around you, you move me. You move that same character in me. And we love this idea, even if we've never been able to adequately express it or realize it in our lives. This is why we are drawn to the relationships we're drawn. They help complete in us what we can't yet have as a full-time experience of our own consciousness.
This is such a beautiful journey you're taking us on in this world of mirroring. And I'm excited to hear more. I'm just excited to hear what you have to share next. I don't even have a specific question because
All right.
I don't know what's going to unfold in the next segment.
Well, before you jump into the next piece, I also really want to validate what I'm hearing, and not only validate it through my own experience and say that I absolutely love what you're saying, but also bring in somebody that I really love and admire, Dr. Harville Hendrix. He says that it is only in loving others that we truly learn how to love ourselves. And somehow that quote from Harville really resonates with what you're saying as well.
Yes, and of course that's true, and not knowing the gentleman, I can only hope or assume that his understanding includes the following. So we've agreed that we realize these deeper, truer, more fulfilling aspects of ourselves through our relationships with others, because when we're around them, there is an unmistakable stirring in our soul and a subsequent realization that quality as being something that we've been looking for. That's why I think in that movie with Tom Cruise and Renee Zellweger, darn, show me the money. I can't think of the name of the film.
Jerry Maguire.
Yeah. In
Bingo.
Jerry Maguire, we get to this marvelous end point where he says to her, because he doesn't know what else to do, he says, "You complete me. Being around you has helped me discover in myself what I've been looking for my whole life." And that's a wonderful, sentimental, emotional view of this idea that you mentioned this doctor speaks of. But without the other side of it, Louis, Camilla, it's not only meaningless, it's actually harmful. Because if I look to another human being for only those qualities that when I'm around them awaken me to similar beatific, gentle, loving qualities, then I begin to look at that other person as, in one respect, necessary and required for me to experience what I do. Out of that, a terrible dependency is born, an attachment, not just to the other person, but to what I expect that other person to be so that I might be what they help me to see in myself. We have to go deeper than that. And here's what I'm going to. So we love the idea that looking out at nature, looking out at Titus, this little buck, or the hummingbird, or the beautiful person that I'm engaged to or going out with, or my own wife, as the case may be, that these people, these places, these relationships help me realize what is true, noble, and everlasting in myself. But the exact same principle applies to every moment when I'm around someone or something in some place that is disturbing me, that is causing me anger, to feel afraid, to be worried, to feel anxiousness, or even hatred. Those moments in our lives where we blame the relationship for what we're feeling have to be recognized as being under the exact same law as those relationships that we find to be beatific because of what they reveal in us. Relationships are equal opportunity mirrors. They don't judge, they reveal. And the relationships we're in with one another are intended to reveal to us what we don't know about ourselves, and that includes the characters in our consciousness that by and large have continued to hide themselves in us by blaming others for what we feel when we're around them. So we have to take both sides of the equation. We have to recognize that relationships are the ground of revelation. Each moment is the seed of revelation. The revelation serves the purpose of introducing me to qualities, characteristics, high and low, light and dark, that I am presently asleep to in myself. Naturally, we love recognizing and realizing these beautiful parts of what is divine in us, but we have a tendency, and that's a euphemism, to summarily reject or resist the realization of the parts of us that stand in the way of these deeper revelations, of these realizations. So that here's where we've gotten to. Until we can recognize that relationships serve to reveal within us what has remained hidden in us and that stands as a limitation to enlarging our life and our relationship with life, then we will not be transformed. We are not transformed by the active side of love. We are transformed by embracing both expressions of it. And the other expression of love isn't just what I am drawn to, but what love draws to me through those people and places and problems that I don't want, that I might awaken to what stands in the way within myself to that fuller, more deeply perfected relationship.
I would love to hear some ways that, these are such powerful concepts that you're transmitting. I feel the transmission coming through. I would love to hear some really practical ways that we could apply this in our daily lives.
Absolutely. First of all, let's look at one last broad principle. Luis Camella, can I resist any moment in my life, push it away because something in me has decided it's against me? Can I be against life and learn from it at the same time?
I hope this is a trick question.
Yeah, right. Well, for a lot of people, it's not. Most of us don't have a living context to our relationship in this life. The living context is that this, as Mr. Howard, a great man I used to know before he passed away, this life is not a race to win, it's a school for our higher education. And if the context and purpose of our existence as individual beings is to discover through a broader set of relationships that life doesn't just make possible, but that brings to our door, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, these lessons, then if I reject the lesson, I've rejected life. And if I reject life, I reject love that's given it to me. So if we resist the moment or anyone or anything in it, then we are resisting the lesson that that moment has brought to us. We're denying the teacher that knocks at our door because living within us is another kind of false teacher, a false body of ideas that tells us only what we feel is for us is actually on our side. That level of consciousness has divided life up into good and bad, light and dark, up and down, in such a distinct fashion as to draw a line between us and whatever it is, by the way, that has come to reveal to us what stands in our way of knowing a love that is authentically unconditional because it embraces without question every lesson that life brings to us, regardless of its seeming nature.
What you're really making me think of, and I want to get personal, and I hope this share is okay with you, Kamala. Kamala and I were recently at an event, and she was struggling with enjoying herself at the event. She was struggling with really being there. And I know that after a while, I got really upset and I got really frustrated, and I really wanted to pull her out of what she was feeling and wanted to change her feelings, which I know, looking back on it, it's like that's totally wrong to want to change someone's feelings. And then later, I actually blamed her for my inability to really have a good time or to really be present at the event. I feel like this is kind of what you're talking about, is because I was so against her experience and blaming her for the experience that she was having, I lost an opportunity to really learn.
Yeah. No, that, look, for maybe a long time, we only can see these lessons in retrospect. But just to be able to recognize what you've described is a marvelous step in the right direction. Look, the only thing that bothers us about any other person in our life is what we want from them. Period. I get negative with somebody because unless they are aligned with my wishes in the moment, they're bumming me out. Not so much that I want her to enjoy something as it is that she's keeping me from enjoying myself. And, rightfully in one respect, because I'm there to share this with her. But where we get lost in these moments is misunderstanding the moment of that relationship. And I don't just mean with our significant other. What is it about any given moment that's troubling to me? Is it the moment itself, or is it that it's stirring in me something that's troubling me? And if something's troubling me about the moment, this is important. That means that I came into the moment with that troubled nature. The condition doesn't create the consciousness that I experience. It reveals the consciousness I'm experiencing. Do you see the difference?
Absolutely.
And if the moment reveals the consciousness that I've come into the moment with, and that consciousness can only resist or hate the moment or someone in it, then that's what I need to recognize, not to blame the moment or the person. This is why Christ said, "Love thine enemies." He was referring to the fact that life continually prepares a feast in the presence of our enemy. And in this instance, our enemy is anything and everything in us that summarily rejects or blames the moment as being the cause of our unhappiness. Our unhappiness is because We walk around with a body of psychological formations, creations of the past that were never reconciled properly, that instead of going before us to make the place we're in crooked, because we live from a body of unseen psychological demands, some of which, without knowing it, as part of our essence, require balancing, harmonizing. But when the moment to harmonize through these revelations comes, we reject the teacher and instead stand on the side of this old man, this old woman that lives in us, and that continues to insist, you, meaning Camilla, this event, this temperature, this color, this form, you be what I need you to be so you don't bug me.
Wouldn't that be easier?
Yeah, but see,
But no, it's not. It's
no,
not.
that's hell.
Exactly.
That's hell. That's trying to control one another. That's trying to trying to change circumstances to fit what we say through comparison would be much more comfortable for us. I mean, look, everybody listening, all of us understand to some extent what we're talking about. The real question is, how deeply do I want to learn in these moments what will change the whole of me instead of me trying to change a part of you so that I could be at peace?
So, what would you recommend in that situation where I am wanting Kamala to change so that I can be happy, which I know is totally wrong, but I'm lost in those tracks. Now I'm moving forward. That moment is past, but one thing I know about life is if I didn't really get the lesson out of it, I'm going to have plenty of opportunities to practice. What would you recommend to me?
Here's one of my favorite ideas. And by the way, for those of you that are religious or spiritually centered, you'll find this idea as I explain it at the heart of all true teachings. So have you ever gone out, Camilla, Luis, with a group of people, friends, or maybe acquaintances of business enterprise? I don't know. You're sitting at a dinner table and you've all ordered what you like. And maybe when you looked at the menu, I know this is true for me, you think, oh my God, how could they charge $42 for a salad or some equivalent?
Of course.
And then you're sitting there and the waiter comes up with the bill and nobody reaches for it. And, maybe it's clear, look, we're all going Dutch, or maybe someone made it clear at the start, this is on me, but eventually someone has to take the lead. And maybe at some point, someone says, you know what, look, let me get this one. And everyone at the table has a small sigh of relief. Let me get this one. We get that idea, don't we? Here comes a moment. There's a real uncomfortableness because life has brought along a bill. And nobody wants the whole bill, but the bill has to be paid. The parallel would be, here comes a moment in life. And whether we understand this or not, life continues to present moments to us that by their nature are karmic. Life itself continues to bring us into a moment where we are invited as human beings infused with what is divine to do the divine thing in this planetary body and amongst these personal relationships, which is what? I will foot the bill for this moment. Let me get this one. You're negative. I don't know why this is going down the way it is, and I want to complain. I want to blame. I want to get angry and frustrated. I want to pay back the guy that cut me off on the freeway by tailgating him. All of these negative emotions, and no negative emotion appears in us that isn't preceded by resistance to the lesson that's presented in the moment. So here I am, and ordinarily I demand that you, Camilla, pay the bill. Get on my side. I demand that person see they're wrong. Why don't they know they're wrong? So I try to command you by getting sullen or irritated or aggressive. to get you to change your attitude so that whatever ache is in me will go away. But now I understand I can't change you. It's not just a mental affirmation anymore. It's a weariness. It's a deep-seated suffering that I've gone through 5,000 times, and seeing that when I ask you to pay the bill, all that gets bred is resentment. So I'm going to step up and do the thing I never thought was possible, which is I'm going to use this moment of my relationship to let it reveal in me the parts of me that want to run away from the revelation. I'll pick up the bill. I'll be changed. I will lay down my life and I'll feel that power. What a beautiful song that is. But you won't until you agree to lay down your life too. No greater love has a man or a woman than he or she who lays down their life for their brother. And their brother is not just their husband, their wife, their business partner, the stranger on the street. The brother is inside of us that is revealed by our brother. And if our brother is negative, if the moment presents something that brings conflict into my heart, my responsibility is to bring all of that that's in my consciousness, rejecting that revelation, into a summary understanding that I'll pick it up. I'll let this moment change me by showing me who and what I have been up until this moment. And it will be a new me that comes out of that moment because I've let the revelation of the relationship produce the energy and the possibility that exists in no other moment, in no other way.
That is powerful.
Really powerful stuff. Guy Finley, it's been so fantastic having you here with us on the Thriving Launch podcast. We've been talking.
And I feel like we could, sorry, Kamala, I want to say, I feel like we could keep that conversation going for such a long time. Guy Finley has so much to share about relationships, about using relationship as a magical space to perform alchemy, transformation, incredible shifts. And at thrivinglaunch.com, we have links to some of his free stuff for you so you can dive deeper into this, his books, so you can dive deeper into his work. Go ahead, Kamala, take us away.
Yeah, it's just such an honor to have you on the show. And we've been here talking about relationship magic.
Yes. I'm delighted. It was a wonderful chance to look at some of these deeper ideas and to resonate, as I know we did. So I thank you. And what else can I say? Be well.
Thank you so much.
And speak with you again sometime.